Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, in-laws out of control.
I don't see that this baby gets any discipline. The baby is wild.
The baby is 16 months.
Mothers-in-law.
My mom is trying to control my marriage.
And sons-in-law.
Terry is trying to make me out to be a monster.
Face off.
I haven't seen a good side of you.
You believe he's physically abusive to the children?
My grandson comes and tells me bad things that happen.
So when he comes and tells me things about you, you're denying what
No, I'm not denying
The arguments get so intense,
I'm not interested in any more bickering.
you won't believe what happens next.
I'm sending you guys backstage. Somebody's lying, and I want somebody to come back here and tell me the truth. This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
It matters to you. That's what I want to talk about. Are we ready in the booth? Let's do it. Go, Dr. Phil. How you doing? Okay, I want you to meet newlyweds Greg and Amy, who have been married for 10 months. And meet mother-in-law Terry, who says her daughter's husband, Greg, is a nightmare to the entire family. Now, this mother-in-law and son-in-law say they've been locked in a family feud where words such as control freak, manipulative, nightmare, phony, loser, fake, brainwashed have been exchanged between them and a whole lot more. Take a look.
My mom, Terry, is trying to control my life and my marriage.
I don't care for my son-in-law, Greg. Greg's really just tearing our family apart.
Terry is trying to make me out to be a monster. I think she wants me completely out of the picture.
Greg has called me a bitch, crazy and bipolar. I don't think I've ever called him any names.
Terry has called me a worthless piece of scum of the earth.
And the problem started when Greg and I moved in together.
Terry agreed to come and watch the boys while Amy and I went on our honeymoon. But when we came home, Jordan stated to us, his Mimi had told him that he could call her mommy and that he could come live with her anytime that he wanted to. And that if I ever popped his butt for doing anything wrong, to call her and she'd take care of it.
Jordan says Greg whips his ass every morning. Greg yells at him and cuts him down.
Terry thinks I'm beating Jordan. When I say that I'm popping Jordan's butt, this would be his butt. This is my hand. It's stern enough that he feels it, but it's not to the point where it's a violent abuse as she makes it out to be.
My mom accused Greg of putting a diaper on Jordan, who was 4, and taking him to school like that. Jordan came to me and told me that he just told Mimi that because that's what she wanted to hear.
I've raised 3 children. I know when a child's lying to me. I don't think that Jordan's lying.
I basically gave her an ultimatum. If my mom was going to continue to ask Jordan questions and badgering him for information that is not true, she would not be allowed to come over.
Terry is not allowed in our house anymore. If she ever sees the kids, it's supervised. I don't want her near me to make up stories because she's very good at making them up.
Greg's trying to get Amy to choose between her family and him.
One big bone of contention is this incident that Terry says caused her to call CPS. This took place on the day we're talking about in question here. Take a look.
This past summer, my mom and my sister both came to the house to see Jordan. My mom and Brittany started whispering, and I asked them nicely just to not whisper.
Amy comes in the living room, and she says, they're sitting back there whispering about me. I don't want them to leave.
She just starts screaming at us in front of the kids, cussing.
And I picked Jordan up, and I hugged him, and I kissed him. When I did that, Amy came over, and she grabbed my arms.
I was not sure if she was going to try to kidnap him, so I put my hand on my mom's shoulder.
Amy said, you need to put my son down, and you need to leave my house.
So Amy goes over there, and she grabs Jordan. He's latched onto Mom, and she pulls him so hard. They all go, like, just across the room.
I was not trying to take Jordan. The only thing that I was doing was picking him up and giving him a hug.
At that time, my sister was standing behind me, was coming to reach towards me. Greg, my husband, put his arm up to block her from hurting me.
Greg comes running from across the room, and he pulls up his fist. And I flinched, and it scared me.
I came across my arm, just like this, not trying to hurt her, just trying to stop her.
Greg picks up the phone and calls the cops. When they know that the cops are on the way, they leave.
Maybe a week later, Amy called me and she said, I know that you called Child Protective Services on us.
My mother, Terry, was the one that called Child Services on me and filled out a report.
As a grandmother, what I'm wanting to do is just protect Jordan.
This is your sister Brittany, right?
It is.
Brittany, hi, how are you? Come on up and join us if you would. How are you? You think you're going to get out of the crossfire down there? What do you think about all of this?
We were all in Jordan's room playing with Jordan and Jackson, and Mom and I were not we were not talking about Amy. And I know that she may have thought that, but we weren't whispering at all. And she just said, stop whispering, don't talk about me. I hear you talking about me. But we never said anything about her. We were playing with Jordan and Jackson, and she was right there. And then it just, she starts yelling, and then it was so much tension, and it was all in front of the boys, and there was cussing in front of the boys, and we were just, Jordan was crying. I was like, Mom, let's go. And
come on, were y'all raised by wolves? I mean, come on, y'all know better than this, right? You're actually having a physical fight with the baby in your mother's arms because you thought she was going to kidnap the baby. I think it's time for some reality here. We'll be right back.
He's asked me, could he call me Mommy? But no, I do not tell him.
See, that's something that Jordan came to us and said. So
he asked me, could he call? No, I'm not denying it. I never told. No, I would never
live with you anytime.
He asked
and
me.
That he could call you Mom.
No.
So see, you're denying what you said, exactly what you said you don't do.
And later, you have wasted my time. Somebody's lying, and I want somebody to come back here and tell me the truth. So, Bones, if you would, take them back. I'm moving on to the next story.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My mother allowed me and my sister to be molested by her ex-husband. What kind of mother would even think that's appropriate? I just want to know why she let that predator around us.
We're going to bring your mom out here. Kathy, if you will, come on in. You saw him in the room on top of your daughter.
I didn't know exactly what I saw. I don't want you in my life anymore, Mom.
This is never, ever going to get better unless and until you are willing to acknowledge what happened to your daughter.
I did not know that the sexual abuse was going on.
Would you sit here and lie to me?
I did not stand behind a sexual molester.
These girls need something from you. If you don't want to be here, if they aren't worth it,
why would you even say that? These are my daughters.
Then act like a mother.
That's tomorrow.
I mean, did you really think she was going to kidnap the baby?
I was not 100% sure. Knowing my mom, I don't think that she would. No, I do not think that she would walk out the door.
But you felt you needed to physically wrestle the child away from her.
He was latched onto her, and she was walking towards the door.
Well, I was not trying to steal Jordan. I had to go back to work. I wouldn't take him back to my work.
But do y'all not know better than to behave this way?
It's Dr. Phil, excuse me.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
Baby latches onto Mom.
This is Chad.
Hey, the baby latches onto Mom multiple times. He feels safe with her. And I've seen that. I mean, he doesn't want her to leave. It's ridiculous to think that my mom would be stealing Jordan.
Oh, ridiculous is not a big enough word to describe this entire situation.
No, but there's no way Amy would ever think that my mom would take Jordan and steal him.
That's why I ask you, seriously, did you think your mother was going to go on the lam and be missing in America for like 3 years?
No, I did not. And that was my point. That's what it came across as. No, I did not think that she was going to walk out the door. But I also did not think that all of this would arise either, where I'm being accused of things that I have not even done. I'm being accused of being a bad mother when all I do is take care of those children, and I love them with every ounce of my heart. I also have another son, but he's never brought up in this situation. It's always, is Jordan okay? Is Jordan okay? Well, is Jackson okay? If Jordan's not okay, then Jackson wouldn't be okay.
I feel way more comfortable about me listening to what he says because he's confiding in me, and I feel like if anybody's his advocate, his family should be.
Can I interject for just one moment?
Sure.
Please. What about when you asked Jordan if I'm hitting his mother? Why did you put that into his head?
He came to me and he started talking, and he said things like, I don't like my house E, and Greg beats my ass. And so I made him, I said, don't say ass, you know. And then he started, and I felt like I needed to record what he was saying. So by the time he was, you know, I got my recording started, he hadn't, but I just asked little questions. I said, what did you say? Tell me what you said again. And he said it. And I was worried because I didn't know. I'm not, you know, I'm not accusing you. I'm just assuming based on what Jordan said.
But you were bringing it up, and you did ask, does he hit your mommy too?
Yeah. Or does he hurt? Yeah. And I just wanted to know what he said. If he said no, I would not, you know.
And at the end of the tape, he said, no, we're happy. She's happy. I'm happy. We're happy, right? Yeah.
And I said, you're happy at home. And he said, mm-mm.
You believe he's physically abusive to the children. You said that, right?
I do.
You said he can't keep a job. He got fired for falling asleep on his job. You said he curses all the time. He made Jordan, who's 5, wear a diaper to school.
No, he didn't wear him to school.
Well, that's what you said.
No, I didn't say he wore a diaper to school right before he took him to school. That's what I said. And Jordan sucks his thumb and rubs his blanket, which he tells me that he's not allowed to do anymore. So Jordan told me that Greg put a diaper on him before he took him to school. And this was when Jordan was 4.5 years old. So I questioned Jordan about it. I said, what do you mean? He said, Greg told me if I was going to act like a baby that I had to wear a diaper and I had to suck my thumb.
Okay, did that happen, by the way? Did you put him in a diaper?
He was sucking his thumb, and I said, Jordan, big boys don't suck their thumb. He said, who does? And I said, babies. He said, you mean the one that wear diapers? I said, yes. And he said, well, I don't want to do that. All my friends at school would laugh at me. That was the end of it.
You didn't put him in a diaper?
No, absolutely not.
But he's also going to tell you he didn't raise his fist at my sister Brittany, and I believe wholeheartedly he did.
And he's also going to tell you that I called him names.
And you did. You've called me names on the phone. You've called me names in person. You've called me names repeatedly.
And you say you don't like him because he didn't make a good first impression. You think that...
But nobody I've ever been with has made a good first impression.
You don't like it because he's been married 3 times before.
And she's been married more than that.
I have. To guys like you, Greg, and that's why I can see, and that's what scares me. I didn't dislike you. I gave you a chance. But when my grandson starts telling me things that's happening, I am his advocate. I love him more than anything in this whole wide world. And I told you that when you asked me, could you marry Amy? I told you that. I said, all I want you to do is just be good to Amy and the kids. And I did tell you that at the beach. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a good side of you. I'm sorry, I haven't. I never, Amy kept saying, oh, you hate Greg, you hate Greg. I never said I hated Greg. I never said that I didn't like you. I tried, and I wanted to, because I wanted Amy and the boys to have a family, to have somebody to take care of them. I wanted this for them. It's not that. But when my grandson that I've raised for 4 years, when he comes and tells me bad things that happen, there's no way I'm going to turn my head.
So when he comes and tells me things about you, then those are false?
No.
No, that's what you always say. Anytime that he comes to us and says something.
No, I don't say they're false.
Yes,
you
do.
I do not.
Do you tell him to call you mommy?
No, I do not tell him to call. He's asked me, could he call me mommy? But no, I do not tell him that.
See, that's something that Jordan came to us and said. So you're denying that.
He asked me, could he call. No, I'm not denying it. I never told. No, I would never
live with you anytime.
He asked me.
And that he could call you mommy.
No.
So see, you're denying what he said, exactly what you said you don't do.
She said that he could come over whenever he wanted.
I told him he was welcome over there. He asked me, could he call me mommy? He asked me, could he live with me? You know he doesn't want to go back, Amy. When I
go back to our house?
Amy, what about...
He says home sweet home every time we pull into that driveway.
What about the day that I brought him back there and he was crying? We had to peel him off of me, and you turned around and called me a bitch.
Because he has no discipline with you.
She called me a bitch in front of Jordan because you think I don't discipline him?
That's not why. That's why he didn't want to leave.
No,
he has no rules. He has no rules with you.
Greg, how would you know that? You're not there when he's there.
How would you know what happens in our house?
Because of what he tells me. Because what he tells me.
But he tells me
things. He's 4 years old.
You know, I really don't need to be here for this.
Sorry.
No, seriously, you don't need me for this, do you? Did you come here for an audience?
No,
because this is what you do all the time, right? You're just doing it some more.
No, we can't get here.
Well, apparently it's not why you're here. We're going to take a break, and I'll be back maybe.
Steve has has grabbed my grandson by the back of the neck. He has hit him in the head. Do
that
not
never
believe
happened.
you.
You're totally making
yes,
that up.
That has happened.
No, it hasn't.
And also, about having sex in the living room. Yes, that did happen.
Hold on. And later...
Who leaves a 16-year-old child alone in a house so he can sit at the hospital and glory in the birth of the child?
You say he marries women with children and preys on them.
Yes.
And he's married 3 times. You've been married how many times?
4 times.
4 times?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Phil, she's also 55. 54. He's 30. I'm sorry. 54. I mean, that's perspective. She's been married 4 times, but she got married to my dad twice. I mean, you can make things into what you want, but she...
Well, I wish I could make things into what I wanted, because if I could make things into what I wanted, I would stop this petty bickering. I would stop this right fighting. I would stop this going back and forth. And I would respect that there are boundaries here that you guys, whether you like it or not, this is who she married. You don't get a vote. You don't get to choose. It's not your husband, it's your sister's. It's your daughter. She's a grown woman. They have their own family, so you got to decide to make the best of it. I'm not interested in any more bickering, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm sending you guys off. What I want you to do is I want you to go backstage, and I want you to decide if you have a question for me. Seriously, a question that I can answer that has a verb in the answer. Okay? I'm through listening to the bicker. I want you to go back and decide whether or not there's something that you want to ask me that has a constructive impact on these 2 children. I'll tell you why I agreed to book this story and do this story, because these children are caught in the crossfire. I'm concerned about them. You have wasted my time. You have wasted each other's time. Somebody's lying, and I want somebody to come back here and tell me the truth. So, Bones, if you would, take them back. I'm going to talk to you guys again. I'm moving on to the next story. If you have a question, you can come back, and if you don't, then you can go back and do what you've always done. Okay, Chad, go with him. You seem to have a focus here. Okay, so I know this is unconventional, but I'm sorry. I'm tired of this. Somebody's lying and wasting my time. Now, my next guest, Donna, says her son-in-law, Steve, is an abusive parent who hits and yells at her grandchildren. Now, Steve says, no. Mother-in-law is controlling, manipulative, and mean. Take a look at the tape.
My mom is controlling, she's manipulative, she's mean. I think that my mom definitely wants to ruin my marriage. My mom does not approve of Steve. She doesn't have anything, not one nice thing to say about him.
I don't approve of Steve. He drinks way too much. He plays video games way too much.
I think my mother-in-law's a man-hater.
She accused me of having sex in my living room and my kids walking in on me.
My wife and I have never even had sex in the living room with our kids in the house.
It was Kendall showing me. He was acting out a sexual act. And she said, this is what Mommy and Steve were doing in the living room.
First of all, they don't know what sex is or for.
When Courtney and Steve decided to have a baby, Courtney already has 3 children. They were always having money problems. And the next thing I know, she pops up and tells me that she's pregnant. I was very shocked.
When I gave birth to my son, Liam, my mom was very angry that my husband did not leave the hospital. My mom told my husband that he better go home to take care of Mason, my 16-year-old, or there would be hell to pay.
I almost laughed and said, that's ridiculous. I'm not leaving the most beautiful moment of my life and abandon my wife.
I was enraged because Mason is a 16-year-old child. He had never been left alone before. Courtney is my baby. I try very hard not to be a meddler. I don't think that I would be a good mother if I didn't try and talk to my daughters about problems. I absolutely think it's a mother's duty.
You know, she's right about one point.
Him not being able to discipline our children.
Right.
It isn't just Steve in this situation. It is Courtney. Steve has grabbed my grandson by the back of the neck. He has hit him in the head. And Mason has told me that. And I believe Mason. I do not believe you.
That never happened. You're totally making that up.
Yes, that has happened.
No, it hasn't.
And also, about having sex in the living room.
Right
yes, that did happen. At the apartment
where
you lived, you had sex in the living room.
That
and
never
Kendall
happened
walked.
either.
Really? Were you there?
You were there when Kendall was telling me. you just laughed. You thought it was funny.
No, what I said to you, no, you came over to my house later that day and you said, Kendall told me that you were having sex in the living room. And I said, oh, really? Did you ask her if we had clothes on? And you said, did they have clothes on? And she said, yeah, they did. Oh, how do you have sex with clothes on, Mom?
You are lying again.
No, you weren't there, Mom. Were you there? Were you watching us have sex in the living room?
Did somebody hit rewind?
What she does is she talks to the kids, interviews them, gets information from them, twists it around, throws it back at us, and tries to use it against us. None of this stuff is true.
But we'll see when we come back.
Y'all don't have to like Greg, but y'all can show respect when y'all are around.
I've never had respect from him.
He cusses and yells at us. He pulled his fist back at me.
Yeah.
When you pulled yours back, it means
Okay, so you did.
Yeah.
See, that's the you did say that.
Mother, I have never in my life ever used a belt on my children. I don't spank my children. He's never touched my children. You're crazy if you think that I hit my children, and you can ask my children. I wish my children were here so you could ask them. You're crazy.
Always put your kids first. What are you doing now? I am your child.
You're my
put me first.
You're my grown child, Amy.
Then put me first instead of your grandchild.
Baby, they can't take up for themselves.
But you can take up for me. You can start to believe me.
Well, I can see it's getting very heated backstage with our first story. We're going to check in with them later in the show. Now, let's see if they can come up with a question. Now, I'm here with our second family that has a similar issue. I understand that you love your grandchildren.
Love them to death.
I'm glad you do. But you're the grandparent.
Right.
You're not the parent.
Okay, the difference...
Wait a minute. That was halfway through a sentence.
I'm sorry.
You're the grandparent, not the parent, which means it's none of your business. That's the truth of it. I mean, you can try to claim it's your business. You can scramble to the moral high ground and stand there like Wonder Woman protecting these children. But I think you probably did a better job raising your daughter than you give yourself credit for. I get the feeling that she's a pretty reasonable mom. Why are you injecting yourself into the day-to-day parenting decisions of this couple?
She did raise those children. She raised those children when the dads weren't around.
I'm going to come to you in just a second, okay? Because I know you have a lot to say. Well, no, all right, we'll stop and let you talk.
Grammy raised those children with you.
Tell us who you are.
Right. I'm Heather.
Okay, Heather, thank you.
Coco's my aunt, and that's my grandma.
Right.
Your kids were raised by Grammy. So Steve comes in and he can't discipline himself, but then he thinks he's going to discipline the children. Of course Grammy's trying to get involved because she was there, Coco. She was there for you when none of the dads were there for you.
Right.
So why are you
just
sitting
like
here
your last
telling her?
guest, my mother helped me raise my first 3 children. I was a single mom. She was there for me. She was basically my husband. So just like your previous guest, when he came along, it's competition now, because now she doesn't have all the say-so in my life. Now we are a unit, and we make the decisions for my family, and she doesn't like that.
Well, she says she doesn't like your husband. She says, I wrote it down. He's a male chauvinist. She says you're a bad mother. You say she called you a slut as a teenager, and you guys didn't get along then. She accuses your husband of being childish and a bad father. She accuses him of being an alcoholic. I mean, all that true?
That's all true.
That's all true. He's an alcoholic and a bad father, and he's childish and a male chauvinist.
And he plays video games hours and hours and hours at a time.
Okay, first of all...
Star Wars.
First of all...
Who does
I haven't played that game in years.
First of all, he hasn't played video games in years. Since Liam's been born, he has not played one online video game since Liam's been born. I don't care what you believe. I really don't care what you believe, because this is my family.
So he can pay attention now that Liam's there?
Okay, hold on. What are you saying, Heather?
He can pay attention now that Liam was born. He doesn't have to play so many video games. But when it was just your children, he sat on the computer, drank beer, gave beer to me and Mason, rum and Coke to me the night of America's Next Top Model. You can love him all you want, but if he only cares about his child, that's not a good father.
He only cares about his child. My husband takes care of my children. My husband helps my daughters with their homework. My husband takes them to buy clothes. My husband takes them to the store, goes shopping with them. We are a family. It's not like, oh, can you pick my kids up from school? It's, I'll get the kids today, honey. What are we doing for dinner? He cooks dinner for them when I'm gone. He is their father. He does everything for my kids. Everything. I am lucky to have him.
So you're happy with the situation?
I'm happy with my family. I'm lucky to have somebody who loves me so much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Shannon, you and Rochelle introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are.
I'm Shannon. This is my mom and my sister.
Yeah, and you're Rochelle.
I'm Rochelle. That's my mom and my sister.
Okay. What'd you want to say?
Courtney, you tell me that you don't think Steve treats your kids fairly. You cry to me. You come to me and you say, Steve doesn't treat the twins and Mason like he treats Liam. I don't think it's fair. So why do you come to me and tell me that if it's not true?
I'll tell you why. Because she puts stuff in my head trying to tell me how a man has to act. A man has to act how she treats my father. He has to sit there and say nothing. He has to let me make every decision in the house. He has to let me he lives in a home really with me and my 2 daughters. So we really, he controls nothing, to be honest with you. I'm a well-spoken person. I stand up for myself. I'm not some little wallflower. And if my husband does anything that I don't like, I'm right there just because I don't want my kids to go back and go, oh, Grammy, Steve said this or Steve said that. So when my husband married me, he was never a father before. He's never been married. He never had any kids. He's been learning right along with my children of having a stepfather. He's been learning how to be a stepfather. She expects him to jump in and be father of the year. That doesn't happen. It's reality. He's learning. He's learning how to be a good father. He loves the kids. He loves them. Okay? He's not perfect, but he loves them. Okay? That's what's important. He tries.
Let me just ask you, what's the absolute home run for you today?
Well, I don't think that they treat my grandson right, for one thing.
Okay, so you want them to stop showing favoritism.
Yes.
And being biased against your grandson. Would that be a yes?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. They have this new baby now, and I don't see that this baby gets any discipline. The baby is wild.
The baby's 16 months.
The baby has a name. The baby has a name.
Does he need to go on restriction? And the baby has a name. It's Liam.
I know what the baby's name is.
Why do you refuse to use the baby's name? They say you refuse to use the baby's name.
I call the baby Liam all the time. Yes, I do.
Hi, baby.
Did you refuse to see the baby Liam for 3 months because you were mad because he chose to stay at the hospital with her in delivery instead of going home to supervise the 16-year-old Mason?
Yes, that is true, and I'll tell you why. Who leaves a 16-year-old child alone in a house so he can sit at the hospital and glory in the birth of the child? Sorry.
He's almost an adult.
He is sick. He's 17 now.
He's 17
now.
now.
I was just you said who leaves a 16-year-old child at home alone while he's with his wife in delivery?
No, it was 9 o'clock at night.
The child was already born, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, a few hours old.
The baby had been born in the morning. I had to go to work. I call up, the twins are with their other aunt. I said, who is going to stay with Mason tonight? And he said, not me. I'm staying at the hospital tonight with the baby. And I said, well, what about Mason? Who's going to stay with Mason? He's 16.
Can I explain really quick?
He's 16?
16 years old.
Intelligent, capable.
Intelligent, very capable.
No, okay. When I was 16, I was living by myself in Kansas City. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. My parents moved to Texas, and I was living in Kansas City in an apartment. I mean, when I was 16. I think I could make it overnight. All right, we'll be right back. There has to be some boundaries here. You may not like this guy, and he may have the high score on Xbox or something. I don't know. I don't know. But here's the deal. You are creating what you fear, because what you're doing is alienating yourself from these children and their parents, because like it or not, they have the ability to wall you off.
How do I deal with it when I'm not happy with what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing? I helped raise those children. I had them every single day. I took care of them. I never put my hands on those children. I disciplined them. I love them. And Courtney, you can sit there and shake your head, but you are the one that spanked them and used a belt on them when they were younger.
Mother, I have never in my life ever used a belt on my children. I don't spank my children in our home. He's never touched my children. You're crazy if you think that I hit my children, and you can ask my children. I wish my children were here so you could ask them. You're crazy.
Oh, I'm surprised they're not.
Do you think that I don't love my children as much as you love my children. I'm their mother.
I think all in all, you might take a deep breath here and see how this unfolds, because I don't want you to be out of those kids' lives, and that's what you're setting up for yourself.
No, I don't want that.
Y'all think about this. Okay, I'm going to stop this conversation. I'm going to check in with our first family, who I sent back to the green room. I think they've been bickering. But we'll see when we come back. I know everybody at home watches this show, and you have opinions of what should happen and what should be done. And I read the message boards a lot of times, and you tell me what you think I should do and what I shouldn't do and what I should say and shouldn't say. And I always appreciate that input. And I'm not being sarcastic, I really do. I wish you were here today, because, you know, it's difficult. And I want the five of you to think about this. See, I've never met y'all before. Now, we have a process we go through where we interview y'all. And I will say that everybody has been, you know, really forthcoming. You answered all of our questions. Were very helpful, which gives me lots of background. And then we have an advisory board here that's made up of the top minds in psychology, medicine, sociology, nursing, all these different professions. I mean, they're from like Stanford University and Harvard and Yale and University of Texas, UCLA. And they're on an advisory board, and we send out information to them about the shows that we're doing, and we get input from them. So a lot goes into this process. You know, I kind of have an off-the-cuff delivery style, but the truth is a lot goes into it. I have a notebook on y'all that's probably that thick. So I come in here like loaded for bear. I mean, I'm saying, okay, there's a family dynamic going on here, and I really want to get this worked out and straightened out. And then, you know, the clock's ticking, tick, 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 and I hear people just going, yeah, 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 and never any question about, you know, what I respect is when a guest comes in and says, you know what, Dr. Phil, it's a bad situation here. I want to know what I can do to make this better. I don't want you to fix her or him or him. I want to know what I can do to make this better. The only person I control is me. So what can I do to make this better? And I get that sometimes. Didn't hear any of that from everybody here. You're all just wanting to continue your bickering, and you didn't need to come here to do that, right? I mean, so I'm just like, I could have walked off and put a tackling dummy here. So I just said, right, time out. Go see if you can get this out and decide if there's a question. Do you have a question?
I do have a question.
And?
My question is, do you think that my grandsons are okay in this situation that they're in because they tell me things and I just can't turn my back on them when they do tell me the things?
Do I think they're okay?
Do you think my grandson's lying, or do you think he's telling me the truth when he tells me
when he tells you
horrible things?
Like what? Let's define horrible.
Okay, horrible things to me is he says that he gets that Greg whips his ass. He tells me that he gets a diaper put on to humiliate him. That Greg calls him names. That Greg. Like abusive type things, and it just upsets me so bad. And he tells me these things, and it's like, what can I do? I feel like I want to be his advocate. I mean, he trusts me, and I feel like I'm turning my back on him if I don't do anything or say anything. And the only reason that I went to the Child Protective Services is when I saw the physical thing going on in the children.
And what did they conclude?
They didn't tell me anything. Amy had told me that they laughed at me when they came over to her house.
Well, but did they remove the children for a period of time or anything?
They didn't.
So they did an objective and independent study, and they didn't find any cause to intervene.
As far as
said
they
there's
never.
no way to prove anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way.
There's no way.
And they said there's no way to prove like.
Okay, so here, I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to answer your question. No, I don't think anything's happening here that's actionable. Do they, or does he? way you would? I think not. But do I think that he is someone that is physically, mentally, emotionally abusing these children? I can't know that for sure, but I don't think so. And I have a lot of confidence in Amy that she would have the backbone, substance, and moral compass to stand up and protect her children. So I'm assuming that you are not so depraved in love and,
no, I have been in
and all that you would sacrifice your children to be with Mr. Wonderful if he was abusing them?
No, I have been in some awful situations and horrible relationships in the past. I have learned from those. Everybody makes mistakes, and I have learned from that. I am a strong, independent person, and I make my own decisions. I am happy with the life that I live, and every night that I lay down and my head hits that pillow, I'm happy with the decisions I make. I'm happy with my husband. I love him so much.
Okay, I didn't ask you if you loved him. I'm asking you if you are protecting your children.
I am protecting my children. I would not put my children in a situation where somebody else was hurting them. I have been in that situation before where that was possible, and I removed myself immediately from that situation. Okay. And I will never put them through that. My children come first, and he knows that.
Okay.
He will tell me.
Is he controlling you, isolating you, cutting you off from family contact? Did he try to influence what you said to me when you were here?
Not at all. He does it. He has always told me if I want to talk about what's going on, he is there to listen. If I want to keep that.
But he didn't try to influence what you're saying to me. He didn't say, you go in there and tell him something, they're going to be hell to pay, girl. He didn't go through that. I'm not suggesting you did. I'm just asking.
Not at all.
Okay.
And yes, I have changed as a person through this. They all say that I've changed. I have changed. You know why? Because I stand up for what I believe in. I stand up for the truth. I stand up for what's right. Okay. And for once in my life, I am able to do that. I haven't been able to do that in the past.
Okay, do you
and
have
he
a
is there to
question for
support me. I do have a question.
What is it?
My question is, in what ways can I change people's views about me when they automatically have it in their head that, in what ways can I try to get them to perceive me as a good person?
Okay, well, I would take a very different tack to that, and I saw it because I could see what was going on backstage with y'all, and I wasn't listening, but I could see it. Y'all couldn't see it, but this.
You hear what I was saying?
I know. I wish they could hear.
I know. I wish we could hear.
I know.
Oh, I've got it on tape. I'm just not playing it right now.
But what it's looking like is not. I
was like, stop.
Now, see, this doesn't look to me like somebody went backstage and said, you know what? Let's not blow this opportunity. Let's see
we
if we can.
did say that.
Well,
we did. I know this doesn't look like that.
No, it does not look like it at all.
But if you could hear what we were saying.
So that's what you were saying to him. You were saying, let's not blow this opportunity. Do you hear me?
No, I didn't hear. I was saying quit lying.
Oh, my.
Y'all don't have to like Greg, but y'all can show respect when y'all are around.
I've never had respect from him. He cusses and yells at us. He pulled his fist back at me.
When you pulled yours back at me, you damn right I did.
See, that's you did. She drew hers back at me. She's a little girl.
This is the reason, Greg, we don't like you. These are the things that have happened.
These are the things that I've seen, okay? And now, Jordan, he loves Mom. And you know that. He feels safe with Mom.
Can I say something in that defense?
But let me finish and you can say whatever. He feels safe with Mom, and he feels safe with Brittany, okay? He confides in them.
I always am so non-judgmental of anybody you've ever been with. And the stuff that you have put me through, I have been so non-judgmental. You've always put your kids first. What are you doing now? I am your child. Put me first.
You're my grown child, Amy.
Then put me first instead of your grandchild.
Baby, they can't take up for themselves.
But you can take up for me. You can start to believe me instead of shutting me out of your life.
You're a grown-up, Amy. You're the mother.
Up for Brittany still? She's a grown-up.
She's 21, Greg.
You take up for him. You know what?
Well, I agree with him. I'm not taking up with him.
I miss you so much. And I want us to be a part of each other's lives when we're doing this. I don't care who did what anymore. We can't be that way.
right,
What do we
okay.
do, Dr.
Can I
Phil?
ask a question real
What?
quick?
I'm sorry. What do we do? I mean, you see how we act.
Yeah,
you see
I do,
how we've
yeah.
acted. I mean, how do we repair this? How do we get
We all
better?
have different opinions, and they clash, and we can't get past that. And
Okay, you've got to respect boundaries here. These aren't your children. Y'all are your aunts and uncles to these children and grandparents. You may not like every decision they make, and that's not your job to like it. It's okay. That's theirs. They don't work for you. It's not your life. And I'll guarantee you, if you started coming in and telling me how to run my marriage and my family, it would be a very short conversation. I'd say thank you. Door would close, and you'd be talking to yourself. So you have to recognize that it's not something that you can control. You can only influence, and you can only do that by inspiring change, not requiring change. If you want this to be more loving and peaceful, then be more loving and peaceful.
I posed the question to Amy. If my son came to her
Well, you
and told
turned
her
it
that,
over to Child
what do we do?
Protective Services. Right. They've investigated, and they're very skilled at this, and they found no cause for action. You're here. We're outing it. You're talking to your sister here. I think you need to just pay attention and respect your boundaries. We'll be right back. I want to thank all of my guests today. I appreciate you being here. DrPhil.com. I want to hear from you on the message board. So long.